Got a backpack on and a taped up map. Feet on fire and I won't look back. Chasing sun through the alpine skies. Trading sleep for wonder in my eyes. Windows down on a midnight train. Paris lights through the window pane. Laughing.
The road isn't always adventure. It isn't always sound and movement and stories waiting to be found. Sometimes the road goes quiet. And it's in those quiet miles that you learn the most about yourself. I'm Christy Prosser, and this is Miles from the Known. Stories of humanity, belonging, and the places that teach us who we are. There are moments on the road that don't make it into photographs or journals or even memory. The loud kind, at least. They're the in-between moments, the hours between flights, the long walk back to a guest house, the pause at the edge of a trail when the world tilts just enough for you to feel the weight of being alive. There's a kind of quiet that doesn't ask anything of you. It simply exists. Wide, open, patient. Namibia is where I learned silence can be bigger than sound. We left camp before dawn. Stars heavy above us. The air cool and waiting. My guide walked ahead. Steps silent, certain, from someone who listens to the land. Halfway up Dune 45, I stopped, not just for my breath, but because something inside me asked me to listen. No voices, no engines, just the soft breath of wind-shifting grains of sand. And this is when my guide turned and whispered, "This is the moment before the sun decides who it will first touch." The horizon took shape, darkness lifting in thin layers. The first line of sun broke and set the red sand on fire. Everything inside me went quiet too. Not empty, present. Present in the very moment. Vietnam hums with life, but the Mekong Delta holds a different quiet, one that feels like the world exhaling. An older woman guided a wooden boat through still morning water. The mangroves leaned over us. Homes on stilts slowly woke. And the world went still. No motors, no markets, no voices. Just the sound of the paddle breaking water. And as I looked back, she smiled and nodded toward the river as if to say, "Listen." And in that quiet, I heard something I hadn't realized I'd been missing. My own calm. Some quiet doesn't need to be filled. It holds you until you can hold yourself again. There's a specific quiet in airports after midnight, when places built for motion fall still. Hours earlier, I had covered Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral. Thousands lining the streets, cameras clicking, history unfolding in real time. But afterward, I found myself on the floor of Heathrow at 2 a.m. Security closed until 5. The terminal's empty, and fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. My laptop's open, photos uploading, grad class login screen waiting. One of the most historic days of my career, followed by silence so deep it felt surreal. Not lonely, but grounding. the universe handing me a moment to process what I had witnessed. And the quiet said, "Be still. You were here. You witnessed this. Now let it settle." Home has its own quiet. Returning to rural Georgia, I turned down a long 2-lane road under the leaning trees. The dusk was gold, then blue, then velvet dark. Fields that held memories. Air thick with summer, and the hum of insects rising. I pulled over and sat in the stillness. Just me and the road and the sky opening above the trees. Travel scatters you into 1,000 pieces. Coming home is where they settle. The quiet wasn't empty. It was familiar. Rooting. A reminder that clarity doesn't always arrive in the spectacular. Sometimes it arrives on a road you've driven your entire life. Quiet isn't an absence, it's a teacher. Namibia, Vietnam, London, Georgia. Different continents, different moments, all carrying the same message. Be still. You are here. You belong to this moment. Quiet invites you back to yourself. It reminds you that belonging isn't something you chase. Belonging happens when the noise fades and you hear your own breath again. Sometimes the road carries you forward. Sometimes it carries you home. And sometimes it carries you back to yourself. I'm Christy Prosser, and this is Miles from the Known. Thank you for sitting in the quiet with me today. Wherever your miles take you this week, I hope you find those small pockets of quiet, the light, the breath, the peace that reminds you that you belong.